True believers. Seanorama here, Sean Geek Podcast, on my way home from work and in the middle of a deluge of a thunderstorm. Wow, that's a lot of rain that came down. I was luckily able to get safely to my car in between bouts of downpour. It was absolutely crazy. Anyway, on my way home, I'm at the other location, my other work location, so I'm a little further away from home than normal, which puts me in position to talk about this thing I wanted to talk about, and I've kind of put off because I wasn't exactly in the right frame of mind to talk about it. So now that I've had some time to think on it and kind of adjust my thoughts a little bit, I'm going to talk about it today. Not a happy topic today. And I think, so a couple things. And this is what sparked me to want to talk about this today. It's been a little bit, but I heard about the news of Zack Snyder, the director. His daughter passed away at 20. And it really got me thinking again. Got me thinking about my old man. And kind of reminding me why I do music. It may have been Mom that brought me to the table to be a musician, but it was Dad that taught me how to be a professional musician. So Mom got me to the table, but Dad showed me how to do it. And I'll be forever indebted to him for that. So today, what I wanted to talk about was there's been a lot of stuff going on the internet and everything, and everybody talking about Chris Cornell's passing, and I've been pretty mum on the subject for people who know me for very, very obvious reasons. This is one that hits me more. This one hits me more than most, I guess. Well, no, this definitely hits me more than most. I feel like I've lived with Chris for, let's see, 91, 2001, 2011. Wow. I lived with Chris for over 25 years. And it's hit me really hard, but in a lot of different ways. I think the last, other than my dad, of course, the last musician that really impacted me and really just floored me for months on end was Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash is very, very important to me. I know I'm a rock and roll guy or a metal guy or whatever you want to say, and Johnny Cash, you wouldn't think fits into my wheel well, but there's a lot of things about Johnny that really worked for me, and when he passed, it was a very, very rough time. So this is even more so, and again, it's memories and it's timing and a whole bunch of things like that as to why this is impactful for me. I really find that when I started out listening to music and wanting to be a musician, and when I finally picked up the drums and started that and took vocal lessons and started that, and when I had my first band to where I am today, there was milestones that put me on the path that I'm on that really I don't know if I would say course corrected me, but more laid me on the path that I am. I mean, I think I was heading in a general direction each time. Looks like there's an emergency vehicle that's going to be trying to get through at some point here. Yeah. So, I hope everyone's okay. And really, from a maturity level, the age I was in and around 1990, I guess it was, or 91, somewhere thereabouts. It was basically when Louder Than Love was released, which was Soundgarden's first album on a major label. They'd done releases on SST and Sub Pop as well, but this was their first big studio album with a big studio behind them and all that sort of stuff. And 2 videos had come out, one for Loud Love and then one for Hands All Over. And at the time, so where I was at the time, I was a hair metal guy. I mean, I grew up on Kiss, and Kiss evolved and turned into a hair metal band, and I kind of followed along where Kiss was going, and I often followed along where Kiss was going, musically speaking. And I was listening to hair metal, but when Soundgarden came out, they were coming out of the hair metal thing, but where it was getting back to the music and less about the look and more about let's get back to, the roots of, Black Sabbath and all that sort of stuff. And this is where Soundgarden came. And, I've liked Black Sabbath for a long time. I think I like them more the longer or the older I get or whatever. But when Soundgarden hit, I hadn't heard anything like this before. And immediately, instantaneously, I was captivated. I didn't understand what I was seeing. Right from the video, the way they looked, the post-apocalyptic view of the video, I was like, well, I have no idea what's going on here, but I can't look away. I was drawn in right away to Chris's vocal style, which was kind of an angry scream, but a scream in a pitch that I hadn't really heard before. I mean, there was little bits of Rob Halford from Judas Priest in there in those notes he was hitting, but it was distinctly his own style with the growl, and the lows he hit too were lows that, I was singing. So I think what I heard was I can do this, or I can do something like this, or derivative of this. It wasn't something I was trying to copy, but it's something that I felt, and I knew right away, like, I like the sound of this. This is what I've been trying to do, and it helped guide me on the path musically of where I went. Louder Than Love as an album just blew me the F away. I saw these 2 videos and I had to buy the album right away. And I bought the album and I was like, every song I really, really liked. Lyrically, the storytelling and the lyrics, just that on its own was phenomenal. Like, it really evoked imagery. There was a storytelling aspect to it. And there was some stuff that was tongue-in-cheek, but tongue-in-cheek in a dark, humorous way. Like Full on Kev's Mom, Big Dumb Sex. Like, they're funny, but they're not really that funny. If there's a dark underside to both those songs. And I was really drawn to that. And I think at the time where I was emotionally at the time, I think this really helped steer me in a particular direction. And I don't think it's any surprise that, I've gone through pretty strong bouts of depression in my life. That, this music just fit in where I was emotionally. But it really helped me get through some of those dark times and figure out how to get through those dark times. And in a way, it was saying, look, it's okay to have these dark thoughts, and it's okay to be dark and grim. And in a way, it helped me embrace my inner darkness, I guess, that depression is, and managed to let me look at myself and realize what I was feeling and what I was thinking. That it was, I don't know if I'd say it was okay to think that way, but it was normal to think that way, and it wasn't abnormal, and it wasn't unique. So I really identified with the writing, And when I say the writing, I'm not specifically talking about the lyrics, so let's be very clear here. The writing of the music itself, outside of the vocal and the singing, was also dark. So it was basically a perfect union of the music and the words, where the words were written around how the song sounded. And I mean, you can have a really poppy, upbeat song with the words being about suicide, and it doesn't quite go well together. But this was like a perfect match. And even though I wasn't a fan at the time of Kim Thayil's guitar playing, I actually didn't really like it at the time. I was more listening to the bass and drums of it and the vocal. I really came to appreciate Kim Thayil's playing, and I really like Kim Thayil's playing now. But anyway, so going on, that album had this massive impact on me. I know for most people it was Bad Motorfinger or it was Super Unknown, but I mean, this is what got me in, and this is what really guided me sonically, how I was going to approach my singing, and really what I'm doing in Dome today. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like Chris Cornell in any way, and I'm not really singing exactly the same way as him, but the aggressiveness and the singing that I have is a direct result of Louder Than Love and my evolution from there. So from that moment, I was like Soundgarden all the way. Bad Motorfinger came out, and I was, right in line to pick that up as soon as it came out, because I really liked Louder Than Love so much. Bad Motorfinger surprised me because the style evolved and changed between the side A and the side B of the album. The side B was a different sound than side A completely, and it showed more where Soundgarden was going. So it's almost like side A is, look, this is where we came from, this is what it evolved into, and side B, the second side, was, hey, this is where we're going, which led into Super Unknown, which was probably one of my most played albums of all time. And it's probably where I think that was around the time I started taking singing lessons. And that's the album I was listening to, really working on expanding my range and expanding my style and trying different things. Super Unknown is my favorite Soundgarden album. And really, Down on the Upside was very good, and I have a deeper appreciation of that album now, from a songwriting perspective. But in some ways, I didn't like Chris Cornell as a person. I understand better now because of what he was going through, but I thought he was kind of snotty. So I was kind of being more a fan of Matt Cameron's work, Kim Thayil's work, and definitely Ben Shepherd's work. Even though I liked Hiro Yamamoto, I believe, as a bass player, Ben Shepherd came in and is like, he had this quirky other side that really prevented Soundgarden from rehashing what they'd done before. I think it added just enough. And as a musician, Ben Shepherd is ridiculously talented, and I don't consider him a bass player at all. Much like I don't consider my brother a bass player at all in Dome. He's not playing bass, he's playing a melody. He's not just holding the bottom end down. No, he's not doing that at all. He's his own lead instrument. So I really enjoyed Ben Shepherd. But anyway, so Down on the Upside, they broke up, and I'm like, oh damn. When Chris Cornell went on his own, I wasn't overly excited to get into it, and I think I just begrudgingly, as a completionist, I bought the first album he put out, Euphoria Morning, I think. Anyway, it's got Pillow of My Bones on there, and I don't know why that one, When I'm Down, lots of great... Now I really, really like this album, because on this album, Chris was taking risks that some people didn't appreciate at the time, but I think people appreciate now. As a vocalist, he was trying other things with his voice, and what he was doing. He was really strengthening his voice by trying other things and doing other things. And I know it was maybe in and around this point that people were complaining that Chris didn't have it anymore, that he couldn't hit those highs he used to hit. And I discussed that in the podcast that I reposted a few weeks ago about Chris Cornell's vocal range and how he is a better singer now than he was back in 1995 or 97 or 2000 or whatever. This was the album where he was really, I mean, I wouldn't call it R&B specifically, but he was really trying some more soulful style of singing, which I really, really liked. And as a vocalist myself, because I guess I'm more a vocalist than a drummer at this point, see how I'm copycatting my idol? Anyway, so I really changed my vocal style to match. And not to match, but I was learning from what he was doing, going, look, you don't have to always sing the same thing. You can try different things. You can attain higher highs and lower lows and different tremolo in your execution. Lots of different things you can do, and you're really not limited. You can't say, well, this is all I can sing, this is my range. No, you can sing whatever you want. Your vocal cords are muscles, and you can train it to do different things. You can be a power lifter vocally, or you can be an endurance runner vocally, or you can be what do you call those? A sprinter. So there's lots of different things you can do. Your vocal cords are muscles that you can shape in any way you want, and it just takes perseverance and structure to achieve what you want to achieve, which is what I've done. And so that album, Carry On, which was the second album, I liked it. It was a change again. I didn't like it right away, but I grew into it more. I wasn't a fan of the hip-hop album he did, but I think just like all his other solo albums, I'm probably going to come back around to it and probably fall in love with it. And that is the magic of Chris Cornell's songwriting, is he's not writing something to make everybody happy. He's trying something and expanding his palette. And I'm probably going to like that album. His last, he had some albums in between, Songbook and a few things like that. There was not a bootleg, but something that came, I think, that was released only in Sweden that I got my hands on. So, I've been picking up everything he's done. In terms of, now I've seen Chris Cornell a number of times in different incarnations. I did see him on the, now am I dating I'm trying to remember. I saw him on the Super Unknown tour, or it might have been the Bad Motorfinger tour. It was the tour where the Reverend Horton Heat opened, and I was blown away that the band like the Reverend Horton Heat could exist. The fact that they opened for Soundgarden, which means Soundgarden were fans. So anyway, I saw them that was the first time I saw them, and this is where I started to sour a little bit because they didn't want to be there. I think it was probably Super Unknown. They're incredibly popular at the time, and everybody wanted to hear Outshined. Everybody wanted, everyone had, no, I guess it was the Bad Motorfinger tour. Anyway, that was the first time I saw them, and I don't think I was really into the performance that much, but I think this is the beginning of the end for them. I think they were going through some struggles as a band and the pressures of being extremely popular. The next time I saw Chris Cornell was in Audioslave. Now, I really liked that first Audioslave album, and I think if there was a Seanorama chart, I think that album of the decade would have gone to Audioslave's first album. There was not a single weak song on there. Every single song was phenomenal. It was a hit in my mind. Vocally, what he was doing, he had changed his style yet again. He was adding and incorporating other things. The songwriting was beautiful. The guys from Rage, I mean Tom Morello, and that probably the best rhythm section ever in Rage Against the Machine and in Audioslave. I really love that first Audioslave album. And this is when I started falling in love with Chris Cornell again, because this is in and around the time that it made me go back and revisit the first Chris Cornell solo album. The other two Audioslave albums that came out were good, but again, it's maybe something I'm going to enjoy back on repeat listens. I did listen to them a lot at the time, and I'll probably go back and listen to them again. So I saw Chris with Audioslave, and Chris went and I think they did at least 2 Rage tracks that he sang, and he just was phenomenal on. And then the next time I saw him, I think it was I don't know if it was a 20th anniversary tour he did, and he basically covered every aspect of his career. He had a really good band behind him, and he covered everything from Audioslave to Soundgarden to Temple of the Dog to unreleased B-sides of things to his solo stuff. He even did Seasons from the single soundtrack. He did everything, and to be honest, the band behind him, and I can't remember all the people that were in it now, they covered every single one of those bands really, really well. And that was definitely my favorite performance. Chris Cornell was having a blast. He had fun. My brother went with me, which probably helped. My wife was there, I believe, and so was my cousin Kara. So I mean, the company was good. Chris Cornell was in good spirits. He put on a great performance. The band he had, he looked like he was having so much fun. And the last show I saw was him solo with just an acoustic guitar, and he had a record player with him. It was really weird. And a friend of mine gave me tickets for the show, which I can't thank him enough. It was a show, I mean, I'd seen him solo, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to see him just with a guitar, because I don't think I was as much of a fan of the folky side of Chris Cornell, which I am a fan of now, damn it. And I mean, I think this guy really loved music and really wanted to try different things all the time. And I can't think of any other artist that really was that prolific. I mean, he was in Audioslave and Soundgarden. That alone, he didn't need to do anything else. But he also had Temple the Dog. And his solo stuff was all over the place. I mean, when he wanted to try something, he just went out and did it. And I think as a human being, what I really learned is you really need to satisfy yourself first musically. You really need to do what you want to do. You really need to try what you want to try. And you really need to approach music that way. Music is a ceremony. When you write a song, it is the most blessed religious experience you can have. From the writing of it to the working out all the parts, to recording it, to performing it live. It's such a ceremony, and it is such a precious experience, and I'm grateful that I've gone down the path to learn how to do all this. And I don't know if I could have, without the step of Chris Cornell in there, if Chris Cornell had never existed, I know I wouldn't be where I am now. I'd be on a different path, and maybe a greater path, who knows. But really, all those signposts that Chris Cornell had in his own life helped me achieve different steps on my musical path. And I can't thank him enough for the gift of standing up for yourself and doing music for the love of doing music, and not doing it to satisfy an audience, but being able to go back, like on his reunion tour doing his whole career retrospective tour, was, hey, thank you guys for sticking with me. And it was awesome. I can't thank him enough. when he passed, I was numb. I didn't know what to feel. And then I got really sad and I had a good cry. But then I'm happy for, I mean, musically he's done more than most musicians will ever do in 2 careers. He did so much and he gave so much to the world, and he was so prolific and he released so much material that even though I'm incredibly saddened that he's gone and that I can't see his next evolution, I'm also very happy that he was able to give so much of himself. I mean, obviously sad for his family, and I hope, you know, they can carry on without him, and it looks like they're on the right path to healing, and I hope they do heal, because I mean, we're all going to be a lot less without him, but he's always going to have something there for him. And in some way, it's sad, but his death elevated his status and really was a kick in the pants to remind people how great a musician he was. Because despite his talent, he was honest. And it was that honesty, that's what I learned from him. Be honest. Be raw. Don't be afraid to be honest in a song, because that will come across and the audience will feel what you're feeling. Some of the songs I've written with Dome are so raw, and if you go back and peel back my performance, my vocal, and the words, you're gonna find layers of me in there that I don't show to people, that you can only see in the music, that I'm not sharing because it's too personal, but musically it just comes out. So wow, I'm really feeling the weight of it, people. So for those of you that aren't familiar with his catalog, I'm not trying to drum up sales for him or anything like that. Please go back and check it out. I know he's got these big hits that some of you are familiar with, Black Hole Sun being, I guess, the biggest hit, and it's my least favorite Soundgarden song for sure. Be Yourself is probably my least favorite Audioslave song, and I think he has far better songs, but in retrospect I think those songs are great, because I've listened to his hits that I stopped listening to. Once the radio starts playing something over and over, I just skip it every time I have it on my playlist. And I actually went back and listened to Black Hole Sun and realized what a brilliant song it is. And a lot of people connected with that song, and I hated that song because so many people connected to it, because Chris was mine. He was my buddy, he was my roommate, he was my brother, he was all those things, and I didn't want to share them with the world, and I liked it when they weren't popular, and I hated it when they were, when Soundgarden was, when Audioslave was. But I'm not angry about that now, and because he meant so much to so many people, and his music truly touched most of us. I mean, I don't know anybody that can't identify the Chris Cornell song in some way, shape, or form. You know, so that's how I feel about all that. Not trying to be dour, I'm trying to be positive about all this. I mean, I know one of the upsides to this, if there can be upsides to things like this, other than the awareness of his catalog, is also the awareness of depression. And, you know, I think there's theories in all directions as to what contributed to his suicide. But whether it was depression related or whatever, it's still raising awareness about suicide and depression, and how much of a killer it is, and how people really need to understand depression. I'm gaining strength from all that he's accomplished and how he kept accomplishing something else every time, and it helps me get along. I mean, I love my family to death, and they definitely keep me going. I could never give up on them, and as dark as my thoughts may be at times, I just always remember that they're there for me, and that there's always another hill to climb. There's always another achievement to achieve and get to. So, I'm home. I'm going to leave it here, and we'll catch you on the flip side, and hopefully something a lot happier on the next podcast. Peace out. We love ya. Bye-bye.